Good evening and welcome to CYC News for today, the 24th of August 2014 and the 18th of Misra 17:30 am. I'm David Nada.
And I'm Stephanie William. In today's headlines, Egypt welcomes UN Security Council's resolution concerning extremist groups in Iraq and Syria. Pope Francis expresses desire to visit Iraq and for the end of violence against minorities. Christians in Aswan are prevented from celebrating the Feast of St. Mary.
The spokesperson for the Egyptian Foreign Ministry said on Tuesday that Egypt welcomes the UN Security Council resolution on combating the terrorist activities of the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant and Al-Nusra Front in Iraq and Syria. In a statement today, the Egyptian Foreign Ministry called on all Iraqi political parties and figures to uphold the interests of the country and to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity to face this terrorist organization. The resolution was adopted unanimously and considers ISIL activities as crimes against humanity and a flagrant violation of the rules of international humanitarian law. The decision aims to restrict the activities of these groups and stop their sources of funding and support. The resolution states that sanctions will be levied against organizations financing or supplying these groups with weapons. The UN Security Council also hopes to prevent foreign militants from joining terrorist groups. The resolution was taken under the binding chapter of the United Nations Charter, which means that the resolution can be enforced using military force. The resolution submitted by Britain, which is a permanent member of the Security Council, will veto power, demands that ISIL and Al-Nusra Front militants disarm and disband.
Pope Francis I said in a press statement on Monday, the international community should stop the Islamic State's attacks on religious minorities in Iraq. According to the Washington Times, the Pope said in statements to reporters accompanying him during his return from a historic 5-day visit to South Korea that he would like to visit the war-torn region if it would help to end violence against Christians and other minorities. The Pope said that the US airstrikes on Islamic State-controlled areas in Iraq, where the terrorist organization has killed, beheaded and forced the conversion of Christians and other religious minorities to Islam, are legitimate. The Pope said, in these cases where there is an unjust aggression, I can only say that it is illicit to stop the unjust aggressor. I underscore the verb stop. I do not say to bomb or make war, he continued. The international community and not just one country should decide how to intervene. The Pope said, how many times under this excuse of stopping unjust aggressor, the powers took control of nations. And they have made a true war. One single nation cannot judge how you stop the unjust aggressor. According to the Washington Times, the Vatican has spoken out against the Islamic State's violence and written to UN Security General Ban Ki-moon. Pope Francis recently met with the governor of Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdish region in Iraq, where thousands of refugees are fleeing from the Islamic State. The Pope named Cardinal Fernando Filoni as his personal envoy in Iraq. Recently, the Pope sent an undisclosed amount of money to northern Iraq for refugees. In other statements, Pope Francis said that he is looking forward to travelling to the United States in September 2015 in a tour that includes Philadelphia and Washington to address Congress and the United Nations in New York.
Christians were prevented from celebrating the Feast of the Assumption of the Virgin Mary in Alikat village in Komombo, Aswan, south of Egypt, by militants on Thursday. Father Raphael Rezk, priest of Virgin Mary Church at Alikat village, told MCN, the church serves about 16 surrounding villages. Last year, some militants of the village refused to allow the Copts of the surrounding villages to attend celebration of Virgin Mary Assumption. The same incident repeated this year. The church is the only one that bears name of Virgin Mary, thus the security forces of Aswan directed to the village to control the situation and to avoid any clashes between the two parties. The security forces imposed strict security measures, and eventually the celebration was limited to the inhabitants of the village. The church is 1 kilometer away from the main road, and some militants assembled and prevented cars from entering the road. The security forces tried to convince them to allow the cars to enter, but they refused. We preferred not to inflame the situation, so I went out to meet the sons of the church and asked them to attend another day, the priest added. The priest mentioned that some Copts of the surrounding villages were able to enter the church as they came 6 hours before the start of the celebration to avoid clashes with the crowd.
ISIS militants smashed the doors of Christian homes in the Nineveh Plain in northern Iraq this afternoon and took possession of them. Dozens of Christian homes were taken to Mosul. The structures had previously been marked property of the Islamic State by using the first letter of the word Christian in Arabic. The Nineveh Plain region in Iraq is inhabited by a mixture of Christians, Yazidis, and the Shabak. ISIL gained control on the area on August 6th and 7th after withdrawal of Kurdish forces.
And that's all from CYC News for today. Stay tuned on CYC for more Christian content. I'm David Nada.
And I'm Stephanie William from the Sydney CYC studios in Australia. Good night and God bless.